All right, so I think we just fixed that problem. So can you guys hear me now? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. Thank you, Adam. So I'm going to give you guys what I just said. I'm going to give that over to you again. My name is Devonta. I know that you guys were probably hoping that Eric was going to be doing the webinar, but it's me. Due to unforeseen events that occurred, Eric was not able to make it. But I'm very excited about the subject of study because I work with people on a one-to-one basis. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. And the thing is, I'm American, so if I get to the point where I'm talking extremely fast, it's just because I get really excited about what I'm talking about, and I can slow down. Only thing I need you to do is tell me, slow down. That way, I can slow down and we can understand everything, okay? Now, I use different methods of helping people study on the things in which they're studying for, whether it be books or different courses that they're learning. And I use different methods to help those people to really fully get the information they are studying so that they can apply it to their lives. This is why I'm so excited about studying. Now, just to get like a nice little understanding of what it is that you guys are running into when you're studying, could you pop in the chat? Pop in the chat what it is that occurs when you're studying, okay? I want you to pop that in the chat because I want to see what it is that you guys are running into when you're studying. I'm going to be going over the 3 barriers to study, and I'm also going to be going over 2 other things as well that occurs when an individual is studying that most people don't even know about. So you drop that in. Okay, got it. Cool. Thank you, Adam. Anybody else? Anybody else? Pop that in the chat. Let me know what it is that you are encountering when you study. Oh, that's way better. Oh, good marker. Now, before we start with the actual webinar, I want to go over some words, okay? Because I want us to all be on the same reality. Find it hard to stay focused, and okay, same on the not retaining the information. Okay, good. Got it. I'm going to help you guys with that, all right? So we're going to go over the words so that we all are in agreement with what things mean, okay? So a barrier is something that slows down your progress or stops someone from doing something, okay? So if I'm walking and I want to get somewhere and there's a giant wall in front of me, that wall is now acting as a barrier. I can't go past the wall because I have a body. So I either have to jump over the wall or I need to take a sledgehammer and break the wall down, which means that's just going to add time to what normally would have been a very fast cycle, okay? But this is a barrier, something that slows down your progress or stops you from doing something altogether, okay? Now, in the 1800s, a man going off to war somewhere very far away, that was a barrier for him and his woman because they couldn't really be in communication. 6 years away, and he's writing letters to her. And maybe the letter gets to her, maybe it doesn't. But either way, that space was a barrier. So we got barriers. Now, what is study? Like, it's something that we do all the time, but do we really understand what study is? So I have a definition for you. Study is the collecting of information for future use by way of observation, experimentation, and questioning. Okay? Now, we probably never looked at study in that manner before, but the collecting of information for future use by way of observation, experimentation, and questioning. Now, if we looked at all of these points, observation, right? I want to learn how to cook. So if one wants to learn how to cook, one must observe someone cooking, must observe the elements in which they're going to be working with. Could you imagine someone wanting to learn how to cook, but they've never seen fire before? It's kind of hard to do such a thing because fire is like one of the biggest elements when it comes to cooking, because you have to heat things up, whether it be in an oven or on a stove. But this is something that is very much needed. You need to know about the things that you're going to be using. So you have to have the ability to observe, whether it be you're observing other people doing it, or you yourself are observing yourself and what you're working with. But experimentation. This is you taking what it is that you now have observed and you're now trying to put it to use. Well, I know that if I put sugar, butter, and flour, and I mix it together and mash it together, and I put it in the oven, it's going to make a doughy substance. It's going to make something that tastes a bit like a cookie. Sugar, butter, flour, mix it together in the right proportions, mix it together, put it in the oven, you're going to get something that tastes very nice. Okay? And it's going to be nice and sweet. You can eat it. That's experimentation. But if you say, let's say you put sugar, butter, milk, flour, cayenne pepper, and other types of stuff together, and then you put it in the oven and it just comes out really bad, or you put the wrong measurements in, you're going to see that your experimentation was a failure. That means you did something wrong. You didn't study something properly. Now, questioning. You have to ask questions when you're learning something. Like you're not going to, sometimes you're not going to get everything and it just be like, oh, I understand everything that you're completely saying. Like, it's totally good for me. I understand it all. It's not like that all the time. Therefore, you have to ask questions. Therefore, tonight, if you guys have a question about something that I'm talking about, pop it in the chat and I'm going to look at it and we can address it, okay? Because I want you guys to walk away with everything that you can possibly walk away with from this webinar, okay? Now, when one is studying, one should have the question, how can I apply this information? Because you don't just want to have data just to have data. You don't want to just have knowledge just to have knowledge. Like, it would be really bad for someone to want to learn how to cook and they never in their life are going to pick up any type of ingredient to cook anything. What is the purpose of learning how to do something if you have no intention on applying the information that you're learning? Now, we have to want to use it. This is something that a lot of us hit early in life as children, going to school. There may have been some subjects that you just didn't care about. I know that I had subjects that I didn't care about, like history. Like I didn't care about history. Like, why do I need to know about this stuff? Because they didn't teach me about all history. They just taught me about specific things that happened in the past. I'm like, I don't understand why I need to learn this. Therefore, I didn't do very well in class. Actually, I was not really in class that often because the teacher always put me out. I was that kid. I like to make a lot of jokes and make people laugh. So, have you guys ever experienced that before? Like you were studying about something or someone was trying to teach you about something that you just weren't interested in? Give me a thumbs up if that's ever happened to you. All right. Got it. Got it. Thank you. So, the first thing that we need to know is that we have to have the intention behind wanting to use it. We must want to apply the information. Application. How can we use this information? And then we can get on our way to studying. Now, the first thing that we need to know for the improvement of your study, and I'm throwing this in for free because it's not one of the main barriers of study, okay? It's not one of the 3 barriers. So I'm going to give you 2 things that are not a part of the main barriers of study that you are going to be able to apply, right? Now, the first thing is, that was the first thing. You have to want to be able to apply it. Now, the second thing is, you probably heard this in a lot of movies where some kid is learning karate or some type of martial arts, and his master or sensei would come up to him, and then he'd say, okay, so now we're going to learn how to do something very simple and basic, like wax on, wax off. Everybody know the Karate Kid? Give me a thumbs up if you guys have seen Karate Kid. So we know wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. All right, so Adam, in it, there's like very specific things that he's like teaching this kid as basic principles of martial arts. And one of them just so happens to be like wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. I'm probably doing the motions wrong. But the basis of it, yeah, Mr. Miyagi, that's right, Michael. So the basis of it is that this kid is like, why am I doing this? Like, this is so stupid. Like, I don't understand why I have to do any of this. And then he's just told, you need to empty your cup. Now, what are you talking about? Empty my cup. Like, your cup is full. Empty your cup, and then we can do some training. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that you think you know everything there is to know about what you're doing. Why are you even here? Like, why are you in the position that you're in to where you can try to learn something from someone if you already think that you know everything there is to know about it? And if you think that you know everything there is to know about it, go out there and do what it is you think you know. So the second thing that is very important when it comes to study is that you must understand or have the mentality of, I do not know everything there is to know about this subject, therefore I can learn something. Now, you may know some things, which is fine. I know some things about cooking, and I do it very well. But I also know that there's a lot of things in which I don't know about cooking, which is cooking is always a very learning experience for me. And I share what I cook with everybody that's around me so that they can also experience what it is that I cook, because I enjoy cooking. I very much love it. But if there's something that I'm not sure about, let's say I go to the experimentation point and I'm experimenting with something, I taste it first, and if I give it a go, then I'll share it. But if not, then I'll bin it, and that's just waste of food. But I don't share bad quality things with people that I care about. Now, the second thing is we have to empty our cup. Okay, you have to come in knowing that, okay, I can learn something about it. Okay, now that you guys know these two things, we're gonna get into the topic. Okay, what are these 3 barriers to study? Because once you start studying, there are things that we run up against and we have no idea why it's happening. Why do we get bored? Why do we get disinterested? Why can we not focus? Why can we not focus? Why can we not do such and such and such and such? Why does this information not stay with me? Well, we're going to see. Okay? Now, first barrier to study is the absence of mass. Now, absence means that it's not there. It's not present. You can't see it. You have no idea what it is that you're reading about because it's just not there. That is absence, okay? Mass is the material object. It's the actual thing. So let's say I'm going to be talking about cooking a lot because I love cooking. Like, I enjoy cooking, and that's the one thing that I know that I can communicate very easily and it be understood, okay? So let's say I'm studying about cooking and they're telling me something about dough. And I'm like, the only dough that I know is Play-Doh. So I played with Play-Doh as a kid, and it's like a mushy form, and I can make nice little people with it. They have big bodies and big arms, and I give them little hats. So this book, this recipe, calls for me to do something with dough. And I have no idea that dough is actually something else, and it's not Play-Doh. So I'm thinking Play-Doh. But what does Play-Doh have to do with food? So I'm studying, and now it's like, oh, I'm getting like really confused, and I'm just like, my head starts hurting, my eyes start hurting. Have you guys ever seen somebody who was reading a book, maybe a kid or maybe yourself, but they're reading a book, and the next thing you know is that they have this book in front of their face. One moment. They have this book in front of their face, and next thing you know, they're like this. And they're getting closer and closer to the book. And it's like their eyes start squinting like this. And they're like this, and they're trying to study. Have you guys ever felt like that before when you were studying something? Have you ever felt kind of like you were kind of hunched over, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame? And you're just like, your face is like all into the book or your tablet or your phone because you're reading something sometimes? All right. This occurs when we have an absence of mass. Okay? Now, the things that happen is that you can get bent, which is that slouchy feeling. That slouchy feeling. You can get a bit bored. You can kind of feel a bit sort of dead, like a feeling like your eyes can start to hurt. You can even get exasperated. And when I say exasperated, you can get kind of irritated. And this is when you don't have the actual substance in which you're studying about. You don't even have a picture of it. You've never dealt with it before. Or you know what it kind of looks like, but not from the viewpoint of you actually wanting to do something with it. Okay? Cooking, for instance. You know that pots are used for cooking. But do you know the difference between a saucepan, a frying pan, a skillet, or a cast iron skillet, like a deep dish pan? Like, there's so many different names for certain things that you use to cook with, and you start looking at recipes and you're like, oh my gosh, like, what's the difference? I thought that you just have the flat wide pan and then you have the big pan where you put the noodles inside of, and the strainer, and what's all these different names? I thought there was just only two types of pans, but there's so many names for the different pans. You even have a wok, which is the deep pan that kind of curves up that they use to make stir fry because they got a. I'll draw a picture of it. So a wok is like this. This is the inside of it, and then it kind of goes out into like a bowl. And then it has its little. You hold it with the hand here, the handle. Okay? And you can go whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. That is a wok. Okay? So now you have a bit of mass. But now, how do you actually apply this absence of mass? How can you actually get rid of the absence of mass? Well, you need to look up what it is that you're studying about. Look up pictures of it. You need pictures. You need the actual picture of what it is that you're studying. Look at the actual picture. And then, if you can't look at an actual picture and you're like, let's say you're going over like a diagram or something, somebody's trying to explain to you how to get somewhere. Draw a picture. Draw. Now, for anybody who's ever come to one of the webinars that Eric does or has ever come to any webinar, the main reason why we use the whiteboard to draw these pictures is because we want to give you mass. This is the whole reason behind having the whiteboard and drawing pictures on it, is because you can get mass from what we're talking about so that you don't run into the first barrier of study, which is the absence of mass. Okay? So, draw pictures, look up pictures of what it is that you're studying about, or go to the actual thing. That's the best part about it. Go into a kitchen, ask questions about, okay, what is this pan? Okay, this is a saucepan. What is this pan? Okay, this is a skillet. What is this big pot here? Oh, this is the big pot that you put the noodles inside of in the strainer so you can strain out the noodles. You can learn everything. You can see it, you can touch it, you can fiddle with it, throw it up in the air if you want to, just don't drop it because whoever's items those are, they're probably going to smack you upside the head. So use the things. If you're learning about driving, go to a car, grab the steering wheel, play with the gears, touch the acceleration, touch the brake, play with the clutch. You have to put your hands on it. Get the mass. Get the actual substance of what it is that you're studying, okay? Whether it be driving, cooking, flying a car, flying an airplane, fishing, whatever it might be. If you're studying about how to talk to women, you need to see women. Don't walk up to them and touch them because you might get slapped. But you need to see them. You need to see this happening, right? Okay, so whatever it is that you're studying, you need to be able to have the mass of what it is in front of you, okay? Now, number 2. Is everybody following me? We good? We tracking with this? Give me thumbs up if you guys are good on this. Good. Awesome. I love it. Hey, Alexandra. It's good to see you. Now, we're going to get into number 2. And that is too steep gradient. Now, what is a gradient? A gradient is a step. So let's say we're walking up a staircase. This is regular. You know, somebody can actually walk up this staircase and it'd be no problem. We got this guy, this is Bob, and he's walking up the staircase. Okay? Not a problem. That is a gradient. A gradient is just a step that you use to get somewhere at a very specific pace. Okay? Now, too steep, meaning it's too high. So this is a regular staircase. A not regular staircase would be like this. This is too steep. And we got this guy, Bob, and we're telling him to climb this. Okay, walk up that staircase, Bob. Now, Bob, he gets to the first step. He's like, okay, cool. I'm on the first step. And then you're like, okay, you need to get to the second step. He can't step his foot up and actually get on the second step. He would actually have to climb this step and kind of pick up his weight and then roll around to get to this step. So there's a lot of extra effort needed when all you have to do is kind of just get them like this. So this is a much easier than just going from here to here. And then this is going to be hard too. So what actually occurs when an individual has a too steep of a gradient? So let's take cooking, for instance. So let's say I have some kids around me and I was like, great, I'm going to teach you guys about cooking. And the first thing I want you guys to do is I want you guys to learn how to scramble eggs. Now, does everybody know how to scramble eggs here? Because I don't want to go over it if you guys don't really. Give me a thumbs up. Everybody know how to scramble eggs? Cool. We got one. We got some thumbs up here. Oh, Karina's here. Hey, Karina. Everybody know how to scramble eggs? Yeah. All right, good. So most of us know how to scramble eggs. So we crack the egg, put it in a bowl, make sure that no eggshells got in there. That could actually be the first step. Like, we're not even going to be mixing the egg mixture yet. We're not mixing the eggs. Let's just practice cracking eggs. Pick up an egg, crack. Pick up an egg, crack. Because we've all cracked eggs before. And the first time you crack an egg is not like perfect. You get some eggshells in there. And nobody likes eggshells in their scrambled eggs. At least I don't know anybody that does. Maybe somebody does, but I don't know anybody that does, and I don't. If I eat your eggs and you have eggshells inside your eggs, dishonor upon you and dishonor upon your family. That's all I have to say. But it's not easy. It's not it's not easy when you're first learning. You're like, crack the egg, and most of the egg is like inside the bowl with the shell. So now you have to pick everything out. Okay, no, let's just keep cracking eggs until you can crack it perfectly. Then you get to the point where you can crack it perfectly. Now we go to the next step. So we got here. Now we're here. Let's mix it. We're going to take a fork or a whisk. We're just going to mix it. Nice consistency. Everything is blended. Good. It looks great. Nice. Next step. Now we're going to add a little salt, a little pepper, however you guys like your eggs. I like salt, pepper, cheese, a little bit of ham. That's nice. Boom. Throw it on the skillet. And it's frying. And then we're stirring it around. Make sure you're not stirring too fast. And then boom, you got your nice egg. Take it out whenever you're ready. Some people like their eggs to be a bit runny. Some people like it to be very solid. Some people like it in the middle. However you like it, you cook it to your desires. But you went to step one. You learned how to crack the eggs. Boom, you went to this step. Boom, you went to this step. Boom, you went to that step. Now, let's say I grab those kids who just want to know how to crack an egg, how to cook. They want to know how to cook. And then I say, okay, great. Well, this is flour, and this is baking powder, this is baking soda, and this is eggs, and this is milk, and this is a bit of sugar. Now, I want all of you guys put this stuff together and make a cake, okay? Now, could you imagine that? A teacher just walking up to children that have never baked a cake in their life and just say, all right, oh yeah, butter too. I forgot the butter. So we got sugar, milk, eggs, flour, baking soda, and powder. And butter. And I give this to the kids and I say, oh, great. So I taught you everything you need to know. Here you go. Bake a cake. What's going to happen is exactly this. The children are going to look at all of these items in front of them, and they're going to go like this. They're going to be swaying side to side, and everything that's in front of them is going to look like it's dancing. Everything is moving. They have no idea what to do, and they're going to be very confused because they don't know what to do with the information of, okay, this is flour, this is baking soda, this is baking powder, these are eggs, butters, sugar, milk. What am I supposed to do with this? Oh, he just told us to put it together. So now just imagine the massacre that is going to happen. You have eggshells inside of the cake. You have wet ingredients being mixed in with dry ingredients before all the dry ingredients are being mixed in, because they're not going to know you should put all the dry ingredients together first and then you put the wet ingredients in. They're not going to know that. They're not going to know that, hey, this is what I need to do in order for me to get this stuff ready. They're not going to know that I need to put a nice layer on the pan before I put it in the oven. They're not going to know this stuff. So they're going to be very confused because we just literally jumped a gradient. So they can't make a cake. That's a cake. They can't make a nice cake because I haven't taught them anything about what is needed to actually make a cake. So this is barrier number 2 to study. It's too steep a gradient. Now, how do you rectify too steep a gradient being occurred? The way that you handle this It's whatever point you were at that is now confusing to you. So you have this confusion happening, and you're like, oh, not happy. Whatever point you're at, you need to go back to the last point where you were doing well, okay? Go back to the last point where you were doing well, and then, and only then, have a look at everything that you were doing, because there was something that you missed that you actually didn't take with you to the next step, okay? So go back to the point where you were doing well, and then have a look at what it is. Okay. Oh, wait, what was this? Oh, yeah, I didn't fully know about this thing. And a lot of times this happens in school. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this before, but for me, when I was in school, every year we would learn about the same things, and then they would add a bit more toward the end of the semester. Did this happen to you guys before? You would learn the exact same things, which is kind of boring. It's like, I already know my addition, I already know my subtraction, I already know my multiplication. Like, I already know this. And then they throw in something like calculus. And you're like, whoa, where did this come from? But in order to actually build on calculus, you had to really fully understand everything that was before that. And if you didn't, then you're not going to do very good at calculus, and you're going to be very confused, and you're going to be very upset about what is going on because you're just like totally lost. How did we get here? And has anybody ever found themselves asking this question when studying some subject? How did I get here? Like, how did we get to this point? Because I don't understand what's going on right now, and I'm quite confused. Gotcha. But this is why, because we hit too steep a gradient. So we have to go back, find out what it is that we didn't fully get, and then clear that up. We have to get that fully understood. And then after we get that fully understood, we can then move forward with full confidence in what it is that we're studying, because that is what's going to handle that, okay? Now, the last barrier to study is the most important barrier, okay? And this barrier is the one that makes people feel very stupid. This is the one that makes people leave courses that they were once very passionate about, and then they never come back to the subject again because it's just very frustrating for them, and they just don't care about it anymore. Now, give me a thumbs up if you or you know someone who's done this before. Very on fire, very passionate about something that they're about to start studying because they just really want to use it. And then they start studying it, and then for some strange reason, they just stop. Oh, I don't like it anymore. Or it didn't make sense to me. Or it was stupid. Or they say whatever they say. But give me a thumbs up if you've ever seen this happen before, whether it be with you or with someone that you know. All right, Adam. A lot. Yeah. All right. Now, I'm going to give you the main reason why this happens. Because the first two barriers, you can bear it. You can bear with this. Because if you're studying for application, you're going to hit some area where you're going to know, okay, well, I don't understand this. Whether it be with cooking, whether it be with driving a car, lack of mass, absence of mass, you're going to have a car there. So now you're going to feel a bit more assured. Oh, this is the steering wheel, this is the gears, this is the clutch, this is the gas, this is the brake. You're going to understand a lot of this now. You can look at the engine if you want to. You can look at the gas tank. And then even when it comes to application, you're going to hear the noises that the engine is making when it's time for you to change the gear. Okay, so the first two barriers, you can bear with it. It's not going to make you drop the course just on point. It's not going to make you drop the course, yeah? But this third barrier, it will. It will make you completely just, you know what? I don't want it. I don't want this. I'm done. It'll make that happen. So without further ado, because I feel like I'm like about to introduce like a superstar. But without further ado, we're going to have the third barrier to study, which is the most important barrier to study, and that is the misunderstood teenager. Because nobody, I'm just joking. It's not the misunderstood teenager. It's the misunderstood word. And that is the most important barrier to study. Misunderstood word. Now, when I say misunderstood, I don't mean that you just kind of have an idea about it, or I use context clues. That's what I was taught when I was a kid. If you don't understand a word, just use context clues, and then you'll find out what the word means. So you have to look at the sentence, how are they using it, and then based on how they're using it in the sentence, you get an understanding of what the word means. No, that you don't understand that word. Therefore, using context clues is a big no-no. So the misunderstood word is the third barrier to study. Okay? Now, what is a misunderstood word? A misunderstood word is a word that is not fully defined. You do not have the definition of that word, which is why in the beginning of this webinar, I went over the definition of the word barrier, and we went over the definition of the word study, because of the fact that I do not want you to have a misunderstood word on the topic in which we're talking about, because I want you to stay here for the webinar, and I want you to get all the information that you can. Now, the misunderstood word is the most important barrier to study. Why? Because the first thing that happens after you get a misunderstood is that you get a complete blankness about what it is that you're studying. You just go blank. Now, when I say you go blank, I mean there are some words here, words here, words here. Boom, this circle is a misunderstood word. Now, there are words after that. And let's say we go to the next page. There's some words here. There's some words here. But guess who doesn't really see them? You don't. Because your attention just went, and you're looking at the butterflies, looking at that pretty girl's hair. Wow, how did she get her hair that color? It's really nice. I should ask her what kind of dye she uses, because I want to get my hair colored that way. Wow, she's really hot. I wonder if she has a boyfriend, because I would really like to take her out to get some ice cream and just have like a really nice walk at the park. Like, your attention goes everywhere but where you're supposed to be. If you're listening to a lecturer, or if you're reading a book, whatever is happening, you're not there. Your attention just went. Now, some people could say, oh, well, that's just because I have ADHD and da-da-da, I can't really focus on that. Okay, cool. Like, I understand that. I was told I had ADHD when I was a kid too. But the main reason why you can't put your attention on what it is that you're studying is because you have a misunderstood word. There's something that has been said that you don't fully understand. But if you were to get that word or symbol, because symbols can be misunderstood as well. If you try to teach a child mathematics and you introduce a new symbol that they've never seen before, whether it be a decimal point, a multiplication symbol, a division symbol, because there's different ways to show that something is being divided. It's not just boom, boom. You know, some people do it like this. We have 2 and we have 4. And this is a way to show that we're about to divide something. 2 over 4. Okay? But there's multiple symbols that can be used when studying. And some people don't even understand certain things that they'll see, like exclamation points, question marks, commas. Whatever may be happening when you're reading a book, if you don't understand why it's there, guess what? It's misunderstood. So we have to handle the misunderstood words, because the first thing that happens is the blankness. You go blank, and that's why your attention diverts elsewhere. That's why you can't remember what you got what you just read when you got to the end of the page. It's because you went blank. Okay? So if you've ever read a book and you start reading and then you go back 3 pages because you're like, oh, well, let me go back and see what it is that I just got through reading. And then you got to go back 3 pages again and you read and then you're like, you know what? Let me just make sure that I got that. Look, what you're doing is you're going past words that you don't fully understand. And you need to get these things understood. Grab a dictionary and look up the definition of the word, okay? This is how you understand a word. Now, there's a whole technology to understanding words, which I can't go over right now because of the fact that I only have X amount of time, okay? But there's a whole technology to how you can understand a word and different methods you can use that I use all the time when I'm either working with people or when I'm studying myself, because I also get misunderstood words because I don't know all the words in the dictionary. Even though I used to love reading the dictionary when I was a kid, I don't know all the words. So I have to also get words understood. And I'm also learning a different language, which I can also encounter misunderstood words in Japanese because that's the language that I'm learning. So misunderstood words, that is the third barrier to study. Now, the thing is, the blankness is the first thing that happens. But after the blankness, there's something else that happens. And that something else is that you blow. When I say you blow, you B-L-O-W, okay? Now, I may have just given all of you a misunderstood word. Give me a thumbs up if you know what blow means. Never mind. Don't give me a thumbs up. No, yeah, so it's not that. It's not that blow. And it's not the drug blow either. But blow in this sense means to leave. You're leaving something without reason. So to leave unexpectedly. To leave unexpectedly. That's what it means to blow. So you'll blow from a course, you'll blow from a book, you'll blow from some action of study that you're doing because you don't understand what's happening. And if you don't understand what's happening, you don't want to be somewhere. You feel like you're an alien amongst people that are talking about stuff that you don't care about. If you've ever been in a conversation with people and they start talking about some subject that you have no interest in and that you don't care about and you don't know about it, you find yourself drifting off somewhere else and you talk to people who actually want to talk about things that you're interested in. It's very natural. So if someone is speaking to you and they're going over a lecture with you and they're not actually explaining the words in which they're giving to you and they're just kind of going over your head, one, you're not going to retain any of the information that they said. Why? Because you got the first thing that happened. The first phenomenon, which is something that can be observed, the phenomenon, is just something that occurs that you can observe happening. Like you can see that it's happening. Is the blankness. So you go blank. Why can't you retain information? It's because you went blank and the information's not there for you to actually retain because it didn't go in. So if the information didn't actually go in, you can't retain it, which adds to why something would be too steep a gradient. Because if you have something that you don't understand, you're not going to be able to use it and apply it because of the fact that you don't understand it. So when it's time for you to actually put it to use, you're going to be very confused. This is why you have to go back and search for what it is that you didn't fully understand, get that understood, then you'll be able to apply what it is that you're trying to study, that you're learning, okay? Now, first thing that happens is the blankness, and the second thing that happens, that follows behind that, is the blow. This is when you leave. This is when you quit. This is when the child says, I don't want to study the piano anymore because it's hard and complicated. I don't want to play guitar anymore because I don't understand. I just get so frustrated. I don't want to learn how to cook misunderstood words bring about these type of reactions. It's stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. Oh, I don't need to do this anyway. I'm never going to use this ever in my life. So why do I have to try to learn it now? Whatever the justification is, what's really behind all of this is that there was a misunderstood word that has not been defined. Okay? So if you're studying about cooking and they say you need to use some lard, and you don't know what lard is, guess what you're not going to use? Lard. And guess what you're not going to do? Continue cooking whatever it is that you're learning how to cook, because you don't know what lard is. What is lard? Lard is just fat. It's animal fat. That's all it is. We use fat when we cook. So lard is animal fat, okay? Just so I didn't give anybody a misunderstood word. See? You see how that goes? If you didn't know what lard was, you probably would like listen to me say lard, and you're like, what the heck is that? Like, what is this? What is lard? You probably had that question. But now I told you, lard is animal fat, okay? And we use this when we cook sometimes, okay? It's totally natural. If you're studying about driving cars and it says something about the clutch, you're like, oh, what is the clutch? Like, what is this? What is this? Especially if you're American, or you're in some country where they mostly drive automatic cars, because in America, you don't see a lot of manual cars everywhere. You see a lot of automatic cars. We don't have a clutch. Therefore, if you're teaching us how to drive a manual and you say, oh, okay, this is the accelerator, this is the brake, and that is the clutch, we automatically are like, well, what the heck is that? What is this? Even the symbol of it, getting in the car, seeing 3 devices that you can put your foot on, we only have 2 feet. What is this third thing for? Like, am I supposed to be using a stick with my left hand to like poke this or something? Like, what is this? Why is this third thing in the middle? Like, what do I do with that? Well, actually, you're supposed to use both of your feet when you're driving. No, you're not. I was taught that you're only supposed to use 1 foot. Well, you use both feet because you have to have one on the accelerator and then one on the brake and then one on the clutch. So you got to operate between the accelerator and the clutch sometimes. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Well, now you know. And the clutch is the thing that you use so that you can shift the gears. Oh, okay, so I have to do that. The car doesn't do it on its own. No, that's why it's a difference between a manual and automatic. Automatic, the gears change on its own. In a manual, you have to make that happen, which is why it's called manual, because you have to do it. Now, that could also be a misunderstood word for somebody. Manual, because a manual is also a book that teaches you about how something is used, because all cars have a manual, but a manual car is manual. So you see, words have different definitions, which is why somebody can hear manual and they can think, oh, it's a book that teaches me about something. No, this is a manual, that this type of car that you have to change the gear on. Oh, I didn't know that was a definition. Okay, cool. But that's a type of way a word can be misunderstood. I could say, hey, could you go outside and get the bat? Most people would say, okay, cool. He's talking about a baseball bat, which looks like this. But I wasn't talking about a baseball bat. I have a bat inside of a cage, and I want you to get the bat out of the cage and bring me the bat. Which, when I say bat, I mean the creature that looks like this. This is probably going to be a really bad looking bat, but you know. So I'm talking about this bat, not this bat, this bat, okay? So this is why misunderstood words are so important, because if you don't fully understand something, you will not be able to apply what it is that you're learning, okay? Because 1, you went blank while you were studying it, and then 2, when you try to apply it, you're going to fail. That's kind of this how it goes down to it. So you can't retain the information because of the fact that you have a misunderstood word, and you need to go back, get a good dictionary, and find the definition of the word. Okay. Now, as I said, there is a lot into getting a word understood. There's many different ways, but there's a whole technology behind it. And you can find the answers inside this booklet. This booklet is called The Technology of Study. And it actually goes over what we just talked about today, which is the barriers to study. So the first, second, and third barrier to study. It also goes over the two other parts that I talked about in the beginning when it comes to you actually having to want to apply it, you want to use it. The difference between application study and academic study, meaning I'm just studying to get answers to a test so I can pass a test. I don't want to use this information at any point in my life. Or I want to actually study to apply this so that I can use it to help myself and other people. And then it goes over the various different ways that you can fully understand a word. And this is the technology of study. Okay? Now, you get the technology of study, and you can get this lecture on study and education, which goes over various different things that occur when one is studying and different things that occur when one is trying to become educated in some field. And you're going to see a link that's going to show you how to get to this offer that you will have here. And it's going to be on at a discounted price. But you'll see it. Click the link and you'll see how much it is. But the technology of study, you need to use this book. It's a booklet. It's not really like a big book. It's like a tiny booklet. But it has very powerful information in it for you to actually fully understand the barriers to study, fully understand how to fully understand a word. What do you need to do to actually get the word understood so that you can retain the information that is there? Okay, because if you're fully understanding words, you're not going to space out. You're not going to get distracted. You're not going to lose focus. You're going to be able to apply what it is that you are learning. My pleasure, Alexandra. I'm so glad to see that. But study education, the technology of study. Now, if anybody has any questions, while this link is there, I want to hear your questions, okay? Give me your questions because I like questions because that's a part of study, okay? Observation, experimentation, questioning, okay? So you guys just observed a lot of information. I want to know any questions that have arisen for you because I'm here to answer your questions. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like at any of these points where I'm asking for questions, oh, awesome. My pleasure. My pleasure. I feel like at any point when I'm asking for questions, I feel like there should be like some nice elevator music playing in the background. Or I can just make sounds. You can hear it. Possibly. All right. No questions from anybody? All right, cool. So if there's no questions there, it was so great to be with you guys tonight. And I really hope that you guys avail yourselves of this opportunity and get this technology of study book so that you can increase your study. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. You guys have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.